Okay, so this is a VOD review for High Gold. This person's playing Mercy, Pharah, and Ana. I'm not gonna touch on the soldier gameplay because it was really short. This is on PC. They are in voice chat. They're not talking though because mic problems, I guess, but it's not an issue. All the points are in the gameplay anyways. This is going to be the same format as all my other VODs. I'm going to make my points, and then at the end of the video I'll have all the summary and whatever. So if you don't want to watch this, just skip to the end. Timestamps below. So let me get into it. And the first thing I'm going to be talking about is your Mercy gameplay. So on the topic of Mercy gameplay, I think you need to be... Actually, no. I think that your gameplay in general is really solid. And by that I mean is if you do not improve and if you don't get worse, you're going to stay at the same rank you're at. So I don't think you're carrying and I don't think you're throwing. I think you're holding your weight for the most part. But definitely if you try your best to fix the things that I'm about to bring up in every game that you play, you're going to have higher quality games. So now let me get into it. So I think you need to be a lot more independent when you play Mercy. I get that shift is her main movement ability and it's so easy to press it, and it's probably the first thing that a Mercy thinks of when she's in danger is who can I fly to. But you need to be more aware of your positioning and where you are and what you can do with the terrain that's around you. So if there's a cliff or something or a wall, just walk to it instead of flying to a teammate, if you'll be in less danger by doing that. Because positioning is a really big thing and this can really help you a lot. So here is my first example. So Pharah's barraging and your teammates are getting shredded right over here, and you could just walk to this other wall, walk right over here, and nobody would be able to hit you. And you were right there, you were so close. You didn't even press shift yet, as you can see. I think you were just pressing it actually, I don't know, but I guess it was a reflex or whatever, and you pressed it and you flew to your teammate. And this puts you in so much more danger than if you would have just realized that you could have just walked to the left and you would have been fine. So you almost died, 56 HP, really not a good idea. Also, when it comes to being independent on Mercy, this person in voice chat told you to res the Ana.
Can you res Ana?
I don't know if that was loud enough, but there it is. And I can't get in your head, I don't know what you were thinking. I don't know if you saw it was a bad idea or not, but I haven't seen Roadhog use his hook yet so far. And he's right there, so I probably, you know, with the slow res and everything, I wouldn't have even gone. I wouldn't even, I don't know, I wouldn't have even peeked the door if I knew, but just also being aware of these kinds of situations. Your teammates are most likely at the same SR range as you, they're not Smurfs for the most part, so what they say is most likely not going to be a word of wisdom. So, I mean, positioning and all that jazz is extremely important, especially with the slow res. So, that gets over that. And the last thing I wanted to say about your Mercy gameplay is, so, gotta be a little bit more independent, gotta understand your positioning, gotta really look at where you are compared to your teammates and the enemy, and if it's a good idea to get a res, all that kind of stuff positioning wise. But then on using your skills, I think you gotta be a little bit more quick to press Valk. And I don't mean if you see something happen you press it right away. I just noticed that you've been using it in response to the enemy making a move, or the enemy doing something, or the enemy killing your team, and just try to get a little bit familiar with what like with team fights. So this is really hard to explain, but if you see the positioning of your team and the enemy team, try to kind of think about, like, if you're to Valk, your team is going to engage. Most likely, hopefully. And if you see that the positioning is right for it, then go ahead and press it and get your team to go on in there. There's no point in waiting to use Valk just for the enemy to do something, you know what I mean? Just be a little bit more, I don't know how to say it. I really like, don't only use it in response to the enemy making a move on your team. Use it to initiate a move by your team being made on the enemy team, if that makes sense. But for the most part, a good use of Velka. These are the biggest issues with your Mercy gameplay. It's positioning, all that stuff. So I'm gonna move on to the Pharah gameplay now. First mistake happened as soon as you left the spawn door, not even 5 seconds in. So there's a lot of different choices you have as Pharah coming out of this door, and sometimes it's really hard to choose the right one. Like, so you could go underneath, you could go above this far left roof right over here, and you could boop people down from the high ground. That's probably what I would have done in this situation, just because I saw 3 of their players in the midfield here, and I didn't see the other 3, so by default I would assume that they're up on high ground on the left side. And I'd go to boop them down, but obviously just understand what your team can do and don't put them in a bad position by booping all the enemies onto them. So yeah, you could have gone top left, bottom left, you know, you could just straight out into the midfield. You could have gone right and above right, which is actually what you did. You went above right, but only because you saw the Pharmacy, which is what I'm guessing. And already we could see the Tracers here, Mercy and Pharah, midfield. So the enemy team is over there. So by default, you're just putting yourself in a really bad position because you're flying out into the middle of this, which is also in the middle of the map, and everybody could see you. But also, don't go for pharmacy fights at the beginning of the game unless you absolutely know you're gonna kill her within like the first few rockets. And the reason why I say that is because, especially in any rank when you're playing Pharah, if the enemy Pharah is doing more to your team than you are doing to hers, it's probably you're taking too many 1v1s and she's ignoring you and killing your team instead. So just stop for a second and take it. Like, I would have either shot the Tracer or gone left or whatever, tried to take care of the Tracer or something else that you could have actually hit in this meantime. So
I'm gonna switch.
Right now, in this like 10 seconds, you're not actually doing anything. So you put yourself in a bad position when you first came out of the door, and now you have nothing to do because you can't hit the pharmacy, and the Tracer's gone, and now you see the turrets, so you go for them. This whole time there was an Orisa just sitting up there on the left side, and you could have gone for her. And you'd have a much higher APM if you did that. So that's just a, yeah. So I'm just gonna head over here. So this is cool and all, you know, pretty average fire gameplay, going for the 1v1s, not getting anything, then shooting at the team and hitting most of your shots. A lot of them are on the shield, which probably wasn't the best. I'm gonna pause it right there. That positioning in that moment was really bad because you were face tanking everything, and if they had a full team right there in front of you, you would have been dead instantly. And you did this again at some other point, and you ulted and you didn't get it off because of that. So your Pharah positioning, and your Mercy positioning, and all of your positioning actually has to improve. But when I said your gameplay is solid, I mean that. I can't tell you to aim better, and most of the things that you mess up on will come with practice. They'll get better with practice. And positioning has a lot to do with experience. So, I mean, you can always be thinking about, okay, should I be here? Like, what's gonna happen if I'm here? What if I'm over there? You know? And that will help you a lot, but knowing how to maneuver that positioning will come with time. But as long as you're thinking about it, it's gonna become much easier for you to gain that experience and improve. So just always be thinking about, if no matter what hero you're playing, what's the best position for you to be in, and if you can't take that position, what's the next best? And that has to include if you're gonna survive and if you're actually gonna be able to do damage. So I hope that made sense. I hope it's not too complicated when I'm explaining these things. But yeah, no face tanking as Pharah, you're squishy. And not as Mercy or any other squishy, for that matter. Doomfist, that's another story. So I'm gonna go to Ana now. And there's something really interesting that happens here. Playing Ana. So I'm not sure if you saw that tracer that was up on the roof that I just pointed out like a few minutes ago. Because she was really in the corner of your screen, and yeah, so it takes a keen eye to see those really quick flashes of the enemy team or your team even. And so maybe try to get better at that because it happened again here. So
She's gone, way behind now.
They're pushing up.
okay,
Mercy half, she's up.
so I don't know if you saw that. Play it again.
They're pushing up.
So right there, the Junkrat just got direct hit, and you should have been able to see that. Even though it was really like a frame, you just gotta try really hard to notice those things because now your Junkrat's critical. Your Moira died, your Pharah died. Now he's spamming healing.
Mercy half, she's up.
As you can see, he's spamming healing. And you're completely ignoring him and he dies to a flanker, so.
Shit.
Yeah. I don't know how to put that one into perspective. I don't know how to explain that, but just really keep an eye out for the little things that are going on and make sure you know where your team is and where you are, where the enemy is, and if they need healing. I know that's kind of like a cliche thing to say to healers, but yeah, it's the little things. Even if you just turn your volume up a little bit more so that you know where your team is and where the enemy is without even really looking at them. Yeah. So next thing that I want to talk about, this doesn't really have a timestamp. I don't have a note on it. It's something that I do too when I'm not in a fight yet. It's when you're playing Ana and you're not doing anything, you spam healing on people who are already full just for fun. I don't know why we do that, but it's just fun. Don't do that. You are going to run out of ammo and then something crazy is going to happen, a tracer's going to flank and a team fight's going to start and you're going to be reloading. So for any hero, that's generally, I mean, for some it doesn't really matter, but Ana, it's kind of a big deal. Even though her reload is really fast. So, next thingy. So D.Va's gonna ult over here. And you actually have time to run from the bomb. So, in this time when she ults, it's going up. You should have seen that.
Dude.
And you should have immediately started running to the left behind the crates over here in the mega pack. You had a lot of time to get over here when the bombs started going off, but I don't know why you kept running backwards. Maybe it was just another one of those little things like the tracer in the corner or the Junkrat on top of you who needed healing, or the D.Va ulted you. Just, I don't know why you didn't run out of the way. Maybe you didn't see it, but that's just another one of those things. On the top, that's kind of positioning and noticing the little things. I don't know how to classify that, but yeah. So another thing, a big thing actually. So your team is already dying here. You haven't even really gotten out of spawn. It doesn't matter if your DPS are running in, if your healers are running in, if your Reinhardt's going in. If half your team is dead and you're going, and there's 4 enemies on the payload and probably more because none of your team has killed the enemy even once yet. Your team is outnumbered and there's no reason to go in unless you're absolutely sure one of your teammates is going to ult or something crazy and it's going to work and you're going to take it back. So if you see them dying, just back up. Don't even go in. Don't even die. Just regroup again. It's no problem. The payload is all the way over here. You've got time. But you're fighting already an outnumbered fight. So it doesn't make sense why you would even try to go in. And especially, like, obviously, when I'm playing in Master or Low Grandmaster, whatever it is, we go in when the team fight is outnumbered, especially if we know we can get the ult off and win the fight or do something insane. But here, you're not going to be able to pull that off, and so there's no point in going in. You see it going downhill, just leave. There's another thing.
Ah.
Where is the other thing? Okay, so this also is kind of touching on the same subject. Positioning, whatever, kind of like what I talked about when I first brought up Mercy and knowing whether to walk somewhere or to fly to someone.
Thank you.
So here, you'll see. So your team is kind of has a disadvantage. You've already been outnumbered by 1. This is perfect. What you're doing here is perfect. Just keep walking this way and heal your teammates from backlines. I'm not sure what made you want to go back into the enemies. I don't know if it was the Reinhardt pushing up and you felt like you had to heal him and this was the only way to do it, but you're outnumbered. This is the same as going into the fight. This is the same as the last thing I pointed out. Just a bad idea. It's you should have gone the other way, and just being aware of that is huge. So, also, one other thing, you had really bad target priority over here, so you DPS'd instead of healed.
Heals behind.
This is going to be an outnumbered fight,
Steve-O.
and because of that you shouldn't start DPSing. It doesn't matter if this was huge.
Fuck, there's behind you guys. Nice ult. Nice fucking ult. Watch out
because you're still outnumbered.
for Pharah and get the Mercy. No!
And
Oh,
that really lost it. So target priority is a huge thing as well. That also means who you target your shift on when you're playing Mercy, or who you target your heals on, DPS boost, healing boost, whatever it is, no matter what hero you're playing. And the very last thing that I have to say is, when you're playing on Ana, try not to separate too much from your team or be too much in the front lines. But other than that, I'm going to leave it up to you where you think you should be positioned. Because for Ana, it really depends. And if you give me a map, I'll be able to tell you, okay, you should be here or you should be here. But I can't list out all of the different places that Ana should be in, given her kit. So just don't be too far back or too far forwards, because you're either going to face tank everything and get destroyed, or you're going to get picked off by a flanker, or you're not going to be able to, move properly. Flankers are a big thing for Ana when she's too far back. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and summarize it. Basically, I hope I'm going to be able to remember everything. So first thing, be more independent on Mercy. Be aware of your positioning and what you can do with the buildings that are around you or whatever. On all heroes, don't just sit down and listen to what your teammates are telling you to do because you're on a healer or because they're guys or whatever it might be. And be a little bit more proactive with your ultimate. Don't only use it in response to what the enemy is doing. Pick better positioning with Pharah, and know that good positioning consists of being able to have a high APM or actually get things done, but also not tanking everything and dying instantly. Let's see, what else? I said the thing about Pharah 1v1s. Noticing the little things is a really big thing, so seeing the tracer in the tiny corner of your screen, the Junkrat that only shows up for like a frame, like the spam in chat that he puts when he needs healing, knowing when you can run out of the way from a Diva Bomb or a Reaper Ultimate or whatever it is, like, yeah, It's the small things that you really got to look out for. So like footsteps even, that's part of it. So crank up your volume if you need to. And not going in when the team fight's already losing. Oh, and the last thing that I really need to say about Ana, you held your ultimate for like since the first point all the way down to like the second last or the last point. Something like that. You held your ult way too long, so you gotta start ulting a little bit more often. But that has to do with your APM and your positioning, and yeah, it's insane what Ana's ult can do. Like, you don't have to always be saving it for the guy with his ultimate. Like, you could give it to the diva, or you know. Yeah. So, positioning is also a really big thing. I just looked over that. I said that already, but positioning is different for every hero, so just always be thinking about it. But yeah, those are the things that you gotta improve on. But like I said, you've got solid gameplay, and you're gonna improve with time. And that's actually a big thing that I saw in your gameplay, because I don't get to say that very often. But yeah, I hope this helped. I'm gonna turn this. I am gonna put the timestamps below. And yeah, if you need more clarification, just ask me. No biggie.